Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Growth Room podcast, where we dive into all the facets of healthcare with experts who are leading the industry. Please join me in welcoming Lance Bell, the Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer at ServingIntel. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you for joining us, Lance. Can you please tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do at your organization?
Absolutely. I'm founder and CEO in addition to leading our artificial intelligence initiatives. We're a 15-year-old software company, and we manage what I refer to as interactions. This is people to people and people using software. And so we started off in the hospitality industry, and a lot of what we do today is still hospitality oriented, except we've moved from restaurants over to, we've always done hospitals. We have more hospitals today, but our primary focus is senior living. And that is all of the verticals of senior living, from independent care over to skilled nursing and memory care.
Interesting. Before we jump into the technology side of things, what is your workflow like? What's it like to be Lance for a day?
Well, I've been accused of having no boundaries, and so there are many different things that I do. My day starts. My first meeting is at 5 a.m. We've got team members around the globe, and so I go through a series of very software specific meetings first thing, and then I get more into leadership and operations as you go late morning into the lunch, early afternoon time frame. And then I get into other things in the afternoon through the evening. I've been involved in ministries. My wife and I serve marriages in our local area. So we work with young couples who are getting married all the way through to marriages that are struggling that need extra love. Also involved with the local politics. And so I help take artificial intelligence and technology solutions and I apply those to politics to help leaders get elected in our area in order to get better local outcomes. So my day typically ends 9:30, 10 o'clock, get to bed by 10, wake up at 4:45 the next day and do it all over again.
All right. So how critical is technology in your day-to-day processes? What processes, tools, or tech do you rely on to perform optimally?
I guess we're blessed in that we are a Microsoft shop, and that was a very hard thing to say, 15 years ago. Since Satya Nadeer had taken over the CEO position, he has done an amazing job at leading Microsoft to truly become an innovative leader instead of just a copycat of other companies. And they were the first one to really get in bed with OpenAI and take their models and their technology and incorporate it through Azure. So today, when we're working with our partners, our software brings all of its data into the Azure warehouse. We're now using ETL tools to bring other vendors' data into the Azure warehouse in a data lake configuration. And then you have the Azure AI Studio, mostly codeless solutions that allow for cognitive thinking and reasoning against the data that's there in the warehouse. So the last year and a half, and really since November of 2022, has been a roller coaster ride. I have been reviewing AI's I'll put up air quotes, solutions for about 20 years, and every one of them I'd have to say was miserable until OpenAI released 3.5. That's the first time all of this became real, and AI is a daily part of my life, in and out, as a personal tool, business tool, throughout our organization.
So, as you're building these GPTs, LLMs, how do you end up utilizing that data? Like, how do you get the AI to give the data back to you?
Well, part of this, there's so many different frameworks. In fact, I mean, if you look at artificial intelligence, being multimodal, there's so many different ways. For example, I took a training video that it was about 5.5 minutes long in English, and I used a solution to convert it to Spanish. and not only the translation piece of it, but the lip sync to the Spanish words. I mean, the whole 9 yards. And I had people that watched this video I created and they were just blown away. For a senior living conference that I was speaking to about 3 months ago, I used a text to video generator and actually created what I call the world's first senior living commercial. It was a minute and 15 seconds long, basically 7-second clips strung together on a storyboard of a couple who falls in love in college and gets married and grows old and goes into a senior living community and begins a new chapter of life. We use a lot of Mid-Journey. A lot of this now can be done in ChatGPT. The image creation, logo creation, Hugging Face. There's so many different tools out there that it's overwhelming. I stay really focused, and so does our company. And so the first tool that we used was a closed framework. So the LMM is ours, and that's a chat bot for residents in senior living communities. And so we utilize a bidirectional channel. And so it's first speech to text and text to speech. So it's a conversational chat bot. Nobody's got to be messing with the keyboard. And second, it's bidirectional as far as the data flow. If a resident is asking questions about their senior living community, our model responds back with the answer. If they're asking, give me 18th century French poets, we bring that over to OpenAI, and we're now using Model 4.0, and we bring back that information. We also take the prompt and the utterance that gets channeled out to Chat GPT, and we store it in our LMM. So that way, if somebody asks that question about French poets in the future, we have that information in our system. So we have the ability, we had it on a physical server, we migrated it onto a server in Azure, and we train our own LMM every night. 3 p.m. and we can also do it on demand. But we have a very model-driven specific for our solutions. And then we did a channel for OpenAI for our operators. So they can, using our software, can ask prompts straight. And this would be like, give me a meatloaf recipe that incorporates jalapenos, and give me the nutritional information per serving, those types of general questions. And then lastly, Sal, we did a text prompt to SQL query generator. And then this is the project that we're on right now. It's released, but it's in its infancy. It's new, but we're using managed instance of SQL in a data warehouse. And now operators can ask questions about their own operations. And this starts off with what we call census. This is the resident file, the employee file, and it's also sales today, sales history. So I can ask questions like, has this resident eaten today? Have they eaten this week? What's the thing that's most popular for them to order, that one person? Or I could say across all of my residents, what's the most popular dish that they order? We also manage salons, convenience stores. We can do housekeeping, rooms and maintenance. So it's way beyond just dining room and food. It's literally anywhere two people can interact. We can store that data and then have it available. Internally, Sal, we used to be a ConnectWise partner, and ConnectWise is a very sophisticated managed service program, MSP, and we had that tied to QuickBooks Enterprise. This is how we ran our own company, and we made a decision. We have to walk the walk, and so we've migrated, and we're about to go live just at the end of this month with Microsoft's Business Central. And we moved our CRM over to Dynamics 365. And so our company's data is now in that Azure cloud, and we're able to use Azure's AI service ourselves to ask questions of our own data. Who's our best customer? Who's most profitable? Who calls our service desk the most? And so from the accounting side all the way through the continuum over to the development operations side, we're picking up these pieces one at a time and deploying them so that soon, probably by the end of this year, everything we do will be in that same data warehouse that we have our partners in.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's super intriguing stuff. And it sounds like the the adoption of AI is extremely important. And it's not, well, to me, it sounds like it's something that you don't just adopt and then move on. Like, oh, like, hey, we completed AI and move on. I don't think it's like that. I think this new wave of AI is more like it's a journey. Like, we're going to have this for the next 10, 15 years. It's going to get better and better at a pace so fast that it's going to probably be really hard for us to keep up with. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting to see how it's going to pan out. But how do you see that's, uh, you know, I'm going to take a step back from the model. I'm going to go back a little bit from Lance, but how does the team, how do you see your team that you manage operating quick enough and adopting AI quick enough? Um, how do you see that happening?
Yeah, we have a little over 40 software developers across 6 teams, and you're moving a herd of people. And we made this challenge to the organization a little over a year ago. We created our LMM in March of last year, and that's when we just reached this point of declaration. AI is us. We are AI. And the code generation piece of this, Sal, a long time ago when I first got into software publishing, this would have been about 2002, 2001, I read a book and it was How to Program in 24 Hours in C Sharp. I did this as the leader of a company, not to become a programmer. I actually did it so I understand the programming paradigm. And so through that process, I completed it. The project was actually an amortization calculator, and I got it to work. But all the syntax errors, just the whole mess of developing a program, I understood it and I hated it. I was never going to be a programmer. I was going to manage programmers. Then I actually went out and got a book on how to manage programmers. And I was on vacation in Florida and I read the entire book. So I got to understand more of the paradigm. I'm a business leader managing software developers. Actually, I should do it like this, managing software developers. And in supporting them, I need to know what causes them to flourish, how to eliminate distractions, how to help them be productive. There's software creation, and I say it's half art and it's half ones and zeros. And it's the art part that allows for creativity, but can also get you in trouble at the exact same time. So when we began this initiative a little over a year ago, we had what you normally would have with a group of humans. We had early adopters. People we actually formed, that was one of the first things we did, is we formed an AI BI team. We have 3 members on that team today, and they're the ones that drive the programming both internally and now externally for all the solutions we have. So I've got this group, they're the early adopters, they're out blazing the trail. Some of it's no code, most of it's using Python. They're blazing, and then I have the rest of the group. All the way down, it's usually 15% front side and 15% laggards. And we had those people. And so in dealing with the laggards, we had to do things like in our development operations and DevOps, we had to put mandatory fields. And this is one of the cool things about ChatGPT is you can share a conversation link amongst team members. And when you click on that link and sign on, you pick up in the chat where the previous team member left off. So today, this is the way the cycle is supposed to work, Sal, is we're doing the front side business case on a new feature using artificial intelligence, asking how, what are we missing? What questions do you have for me? And we build the business case around the new feature. Then we get into what are the attributes going to be? What database adjustments or enhancements need to happen? What's the UI going to look like? So in the programming cycle, we take each step of it. And the final stage, which is, in my opinion, the most amazing part, is the creation of the documentation, both for end users and internal technical, from everything you did going all the way back to the ideation phase. And so AI is a part of this entire platform. We had 15% of our people who weren't using it. And so we started report card. We were given A's and F's. based on development tickets that were closed, whether the AI links were attached or not. And then we got into remedial classes. If you didn't follow protocol, we were going to pull you out of your normal sequence and you were going to spend an hour or two with a business analyst going through the reasons why. And then recently we've done what we call dev days, developer days, where we take the entire group out and we break them into teams. And for 3 or 4 hour blocks, we have them program an AI solution and do it in a contest format where everybody does a presentation, we have a judging, a team is selected the winner, and then we give cash prizes or LMS learning prizes. We have different things that we give away, but we use a balance of carrot and stick. So if you're not doing it, and we're down to just a couple of people now out of over 40. And so if you're not, I don't want to take it, Sal, to the point of we're going to terminate your position. We really provide a ton of grace to get people through this. But one of the things I've learned, for some people, it's fear of AI or fear that they'll lose their job because of AI. And one of the things that I personally preach is that fear is not just a word, it's also an acronym. And it stands for false evidence appearing real. AI isn't going to replace the software developer. What's going to replace the software developer is another software developer who is using AI. And so the productivity increases we've seen 200, 250%, more code, better code, teams working together in collaboration. It's been phenomenal for our software manufacturing processes.
Wow, what a great way to help people adopt AI this coming year. And it's great to know that you've already started on that. I mean, I spoke with some other people and they haven't started. Um, what are the top 3 technological improvements that you would like to make because they would have the most impact for you or your team at your org in 2024?
If you're speaking internally, just internally, I think one of the biggest things is QA. I had mentioned documentation, and we care a lot about documentation. And one group of people who have been mostly eliminated by this technology is content writers. And that was the first thing out of the box. In 2022, I think I put out 3 or maybe 4 white papers. This would be out on LinkedIn and had something to do with technology. Last year, I think I put out 12. And it wasn't just a little bit more focus. It was just that it was so much easier to utilize the technology to get quality content out. In fact, Sal, I wrote a book and I got it published on Amazon. I think it was in November of last year. So we had time's flying. So about 8 months ago, I wrote a book utilizing artificial intelligence on the subject of leadership. Now, without AI, I wrote a book and got it published in 2018 on marriage. It's titled The Marriage You Do Not Deserve. And it took me 4 years to write this book because it's very part-time. I'm not an author. Like programming software, I can write books, but I hate it. And this was a calling to get this knowledge out of my head so that people could use it to apply to their marriages. So after the marriage book was the subject of leadership. And compared to marriage, leadership is a whale. It's a giant topic. And so I was sitting there, this was again about March timeframe of last year, and that my leadership book is based on leadership attributes found in the Bible. And so I asked then 3.5, I said, are you connected? Do you have access to a particular version of the Bible? And the answer was yes. And I was like, oh, yeah, really? I was like, why don't you share with me 5 leadership attributes found in that version? And he gave me 5, and they were all completely solid attributes. And I said, why don't you give me 5 more? And he gave me 5 more. In fact, Sal, it listed the first prompt return. It's called an utterance or a reply. Listed them 1 through 5. And then I said, give me more. And it listed them 6 through 10. Which in and of itself, I just found fascinating. So simple, but it didn't go 1 through 5 and then 1 through 5 again. So then I asked it, can you write me a book based on these 10 attributes? And the answer was no, but it could provide me an outline. It's like, okay, outline of a book. If you can give me an outline, then you give me a paragraph. If you can give me a paragraph, you can give me a chapter. And so I got the book published, and I don't remember. It's 14 chapters, 140 pages ballpark, and all meat, no fluff. There's no stories in this. It's all meat, and it's a life application book. Questions, answers, examples good, examples bad. So I probably have 300, maybe 350 prompts that went into creating this book. And then I passed it through other Bible study. I passed it through my Bible study. My group got to experience this book for 12 weeks, 12 chapters, an intro and a conclusion. And all of that to impress the content generation is off the rails. So as mentioned earlier, that's the first thing I expect. The best concentration of content ever created for internal, external use. Second is quality assurance. Regression testing, this is part of AI's superpower, if you will, is the ability to analyze code and optimize the code and provide security evaluations on that code. And so right now, our team is going through a SOC 2 certification. And at the same time, we're going through a HIPAA certification. And the quality of the code and the technologies that we're utilizing, I have just increased our ability to keep our partners' data safe and keep our systems online and resilient. So the quality assurance piece of this, the regression testing, the pre and AI analysis of the code before it gets passed to the QA team, as I mentioned earlier, the quality has gone up through the roof. That would be two. And then third, Sal, I would say is the ideation phase. The ability when we're creating, especially if it's a new model, what we call an epic, that's something, it's a concept that's comprised of many tasks below it. This is one of my favorite prompts, Sal, is I got an idea. So I type out a paragraph of my idea, and then I ask AI, what questions do you have for me? And I usually get about 20. And I like to move fast. I like to think that I'm lazy. And I get 20 questions. I'm like, I got to answer them now. And it forces me to buckle down and invest that. It's not long, 15, 20 minutes to go through and think about and answer all these questions. And then the output I get back is phenomenal. I use AI to create all of my PowerPoint presentations. And we're talking about all the way down to driving the Visual Basic for Applications code so that it creates the entire PowerPoint deck. And it's the same type of thing. I'm going to do this webinar. It's based on these technologies. What questions do you have? Great. Now create the VBA for me. It creates the PowerPoint deck. Now I say, give me graphics. What should the title slide look like based on the subject matter? What should the background on all the content slides look like? And it literally gives me everything. So super fast on output and then super high on quality. Some of the stuff that gets put out, it's mind blowing for me.
Wow, what an adventure. I mean, my concluding thoughts are that AI has a big role to play in not just healthcare, but all industries this year. Implementing AI really well will provide the most impact out of anything. It was such a pleasure having you on the show, Lance. I'm looking forward to having you on for future episodes.